What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another video. This time it's the Ally X. ROG's next thing for the ROG Ally will be refresh model, the Ally X, coming later on this year. We learned some details today from what was a pretty short, I'd say overhyped stream that we got, but we still learned some things from that we'll go over. We also got to learn some more about Armory Crate SE 1.5 and what to expect from that. They didn't show anything in action, but there were some screenshots and there's some information out there on that. So we'll take a look at what we can expect from the next ROG Ally coming later this year, and then we'll take a quick look at what they showed today for Armory Crate SE 1.5 that we'll be getting later on. So between the stream today and the Verge article that came out like an hour before the stream because there was a delay and articles started coming out, plus other news out there, I just kind of gathered up what I could quickly for the video as far as what we really know about the ROG Ally X and what's going to be coming with that. What's the refresh all about here? So first off, the same Z1 Extreme that we have now, no change to anything there, and also the same screen that we have now, the 48 to 120 hertz VRR 1080p screen that we have now. So those two things they said are definitely staying the same for the refresh. Now, as far as color though, this is supposed to be a new black color for this variant. I don't know if this means we're going to have the option of black and white, or if this is strictly going to be that this X model is a black model and that the original Ally stays the white Ally, and that's what we have. But anyway, they did say that it would be a new black color for this model. Now, the next thing we learned, I think, is actually the main focus of ASUS for the ROG Ally X and what they're bringing next, and that's substantial battery life improvements. From ASUS's SVP Sean Yen, who tells The Verge that ASUS is cramming a substantially larger battery pack into Ally X's revised shell. They're not looking at 30 to 40% more capacity, they're looking at way more than that, he says. So obviously they're looking at trying to, I'd say, double the battery life you get. So if you're someone who typically gets about an hour and a half of gaming and intensive games, they're looking to probably push that to something more like 3 hours and bring it maybe more in line with something like the Steam Deck running full tilt and getting like 3 hours, as to where they basically doubled their battery life. So this is certainly going to add weight to the device, but if it's balanced correctly with the new shell design, it probably won't be felt that much, and I certainly welcome the additional battery life. So it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out, but I think this is probably one of the big focuses for this refresh, because battery life has certainly been a big contention when it comes to these new Windows handheld devices. Now, we didn't get any specs today, but in the Verge article, they do say that the Ally X should have more than its current 16 gigabytes of RAM, so that you can allocate more of that RAM to GPU without impacting the rest of the system. This is something that I really preach a lot on these devices, not to eat up too much of that RAM, dedicating too much to GPU, because really the system needs as much of that 16 gigs as it can get, especially when you're running Windows and games and all of that. So getting an increase would be a big deal. I suspect that these handhelds will start running 24 gigabyte models. They could go all the way up to 32 gigs, but I used to run 24 gigs in a lot of my computers before years ago, and I made it work out pretty well. And the way they designed these on the motherboards, they could certainly get away with doing a 24 gigabyte RAM setup. You could allocate 8 gigs to your GPU, have 16 for your system, never look back, and be good to go. So we'll see what they do with that. This doesn't mean you'll get a ton more performance out of that Z1 Extreme when it comes to raw frame rate, but it could do a lot when it comes to helping solve a lot of the frame time issues we've had with these devices since launch. Something else cool here would be the change in the SSD that's used. So it would have an M.2 2280 slot versus the 2230 now, making it just a lot easier. A lot more SSDs are available. You could get a lot more deals. You could do a lot more for upgrading your storage. So seeing it have room for that would be a really nice change to the refresh, especially for those of us that like to upgrade our SSDs. Apparently, the Ally X should also be more repairable with redesigned joystick modules that should be more interchangeable and upgradable. And also, there's supposed to be a slightly redesign to the grips and some tuning to the D-pad, joysticks, and triggers. So I don't know that they're doing a full replacement or change out of any of the buttons per se, but it sounds like there's definitely some changes that are happening there. Now, ASUS has been a little slippery when it comes to the SD card reader issue. However, they did extend warranties on that for people, and also I was someone who had to RMA my device for the SD card reader. ASUS took that, fixed it really quickly for me, got it back quickly, and my devices work perfectly since. And I think I've been using it for about 3-4 months now since it was fixed through the RMA process. They took great care of me and I had no problems with that. So yeah, there is a redesign here of the motherboard, moving the SD card reader around. The direct statement is we don't want people to think that's what we had to do. That's the quote from the Verge article from Meng, who says about moving the SD card reader. So, you know, they're basically redesigning it, moving the SD card reader, but they're not doing it because it had a problem. They're doing it just because that's what they're doing here on the new Ally. So anyways, I just thought I would throw that in there. But point is, I think they did a good job, at least for me and from others that I know, taking care of the issues the current Ally has had with that. And if they're addressing it in any way, even non-officially, moving forward with the next Ally and future iterations, that's certainly welcome here. Now, there is a part of this from the article I don't love and from some of the information we've gotten today as well. ASUS does say that the Ally X's improvements come at a cost, so they will be more expensive than the current ROG Ally. So this is going to be interesting to see. I would have much preferred that the current ROG Ally models could maybe move down in price just a little bit, making them more accessible, and bringing in the Ally X refresh model at basically the same or similar pricing. I realize that may not be that viable, but it's what I would have preferred to see. Being a more expensive model, we'll have to see what they come out with the actual prices when they say more expensive. And I assume that since we've already seen a lot of sales on the current Ally models, we'll probably continue to see more of those even on the Z1 Extreme. So when it comes to the next Ally that we're going to see, the Ally X, the refresh model, I don't know if this is going to be something that would necessarily make a lot of people who have an Ally now upgrade. We'll have to see what it really looks like and how it performs and compares and the additional RAM and all that kind of stuff with the device. But I would assume most people won't feel the urge to have to upgrade to that one, and we'll probably want to wait for the true Ally 2. But that being said, I'll wait to see some more information, especially June 2nd on that next stream, because there are some things here that do make me interested that could make some improvements to the Ally that could be worth it and be a decent refresh. But we'll have to see how this pans out over the next month or two. Okay, so they did also talk about Armory Crate SE 1.5 and just put up some screenshots and allowed some quick looks at some different things that are happening there. And for the most part, what we're looking at is kind of a new UI design, a little bit cleaner when it comes to the gaming layout and new ways to sort and find your games and edit the profiles and that type of thing. Basically a new interface design when it comes to that. And to be honest, one of these screenshots, the Starfield one up there, looks like my Xbox looks right now if I turn it on the home screen. It is like super similar to that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I actually kind of like that dashboard. But yeah, a lot of new layouts and stuff that you can do with that. I think it looks really nice. A big one for me that they showed off here was share your button mapping. So your mapping and templates and stuff you can make. You could think of this as like the Steam templates and how the community can share those on Steam, which is really awesome and super useful. Well, that's idea is going to be in Armory Crate SE 1.5 where the community can share this stuff. And I think that's going to be super useful and could really grow and really help us out here. All of us coming together and making some really good templates for some of these games, cloud gaming, different things that we use them for, and being able to share those. So for me, that's actually a pretty exciting iteration to come to Armory Crate SE. They're also going to have the option in there to swap the AMD frame generation on and off. They've done a great job of putting the AMD features into SE so that you can turn them on and off without opening the Adrenaline software. So seeing that come over is nice as well. But yeah, guys, I think that'll pretty much wrap up this video. Let me know if you're excited about the Ally X and what's to come there. This is just a refresh, but we'll have to see what it really comes down to and how this thing really looks and performs and feels and all that. I'm sure there's going to be people out there excited for it, and there's going to be people out there that certainly aren't that worried about it and will be waiting for the next thing. But I'll certainly be covering it here as we move forward. I will say that for current Ally users and future Ally X users and all that, Armory Crate SE does continue to be one of the better, if not the best, softwares on these handheld devices. Like, ASUS has done a really good job with it and continued to improve it, and obviously continuing to improve it even more and to make it better for these devices now and future ones. And I think this is really a strong suit for them, a strong point for them with these devices is Armory Crate SE. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as well, as we should see that new version this July. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video as always. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.